there, everyone. Welcome to Brew Jackets. It's a fun Blue Jackets themed podcast. My name is Kevin, and joining me tonight is my co-host, Hefty Duck. And as always, we always invite people to come on the show. If they do, that's cool. If not, there's always next time. But anyways, on today's show, we'll be doing a KIRIIL Marchenko report card. How did he do this season? We're going to talk about that. We'll be doing a little draft preview this upcoming Friday and Saturday is the draft for hockey. And we're going to be talking about who could the Blue Jackets be picking with pick 14. The Blue Jackets have pick 14 in the draft in the first round. Who could they pick? We're going to talk about that. The Big Ten has released their hockey schedule for every Big Ten team. We're going to talk about that and so much more. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Welcome in, everybody. Hope you all have had a good week. It's been a little bit more rainy and dreary here for me this last few days, but still pretty good. If you would like to listen to us, check us out on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts, we are there. If you want to check us out on YouTube, check us out there. We're just the Brew Jackets pod over there, as well as on Twitter. We appreciate all of you for supporting us. We don't do any ad reads, so check out my business page at Lance Schrock Tattoos on Instagram and at Lance_Schrock on Twitter.
Okay, so one last thing before we get going here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. Please like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. So please tell your family, please tell your friends, like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Check it out.
And as always, don't forget to check out Union Blue Soldiers. Check out Union Blue Soldiers. Check out Union Blue Soldiers. It's a fun Blue Jackets themed fan group that I do. We do a lot of fun stuff like marches to bring Blue Jackets fans together to cheer on the Blue Jackets and so much more. So check out Union Blue Soldiers.
Check it out.
All right. So first things first, to start off the show, we're going to be doing a little KIRIIL Marchenko report card. How'd he do? I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. So, KIRIIL Marchenko, for the most part, played really good this season. But why is it 7 out of 10? Because for the most part of the season, he played really good. But towards the end of the season, it's not just a KIRIIL Marchenko thing. This happened to other players as well, where they didn't do as good. They just kind of disappeared. And that contributed to why the Blue Jackets didn't do as good as they did and eventually missed the playoffs. So part of that is, I think, because KIRIIL Marchenko last season had a really good season, 31 goals, the best season he's ever had. And when you have a season like that, it puts a whole new spotlight on you. Everyone's paying attention to you now. Like, ooh, KIRIIL Marchenko. Look, oh my God. He had a real good season. Ooh, 31 goals. Oh man, the Blue Jackets have a real good player there. They have a good one there. And now, when you're playing the Blue Jackets, you know that, all right, you know what? we got to do our best to stop KIRIIL Marchenko. We can't let him score a goal, because if he does, that's going to hurt us. And teams were adjusting to that. And towards, like, in my opinion, as the season went along, teams were starting to do that. And I don't think KIRIIL Marchenko towards the end was handling that as well. Now it's his responsibility to figure out a way around that. So something like that doesn't happen. And he was kind of hurt. So, he's playing through it. So, of course, if you're playing hurt, you're not going to be as good. So there's that. And he scored less goals. He didn't have, obviously, Hefty Duck's a stat guy, so I'll tell you about that. But last year he had 31 goals and then did not have 31 goals this season. It was a drop. Still good, but not as good. KIRIIL Marchenko, where he shined, is really good on the first line with the Blue Jackets this season. Put him with anyone. It could have been from him to Sean Monahan and Dmitry Voronkov. Good. Put him with Adam Fantilli and Dmitry Voronkov. Good. Put him with Mason Marchment and Adam Fantilli. Good. And there are times where, you play him on the second line, and he was good. KIRIIL Marchenko is a good top six guy, and he can really shoot the puck, and he's really good at putting the puck in the net. Also, KIRIIL Marchenko really shined in the shootout. One of the best shooters the Blue Jackets had all season in the shootout. More likely than not, if KIRIIL Marchenko is out there, it's in the shootout, he's going to score. More likely than not, that's just how it's going to be. He's going to score. And there were many reasons why the Blue Jackets were good in shootouts this past season. One of those reasons was KIRIIL Marchenko. Ridiculously good in the shootout. Just very, very reliable. He got, more likely than not, 9 times out of 10, he got the job done. If I'm in a shootout and I need a goal, who am I looking to? I'm going to KIRIIL Marchenko. He's one of those guys that I'm looking to. Obviously right now, Charlie Coyle and Kent Johnson would also be those guys that I'm looking at. But KIRIIL Marchenko is also that guy. He's one of my top 3, just really good in the shootout. So, but all those good things that he did, and he's a really good player for the Blue Jackets, and he's going to earn himself a lot of money with the Blue Jackets for his next contract. But I said 7 out of 10 because I'm dinging him 3 points for how it ended towards the end of the season, where he just wasn't as good as he was. That's the way I see it. So 7 out of 10, still good. Still played really good. I like it. Good season, KIRIIL Marchenko. But, towards the end there, you kind of didn't play as good, and I'm dinging you 3 points, 7 out of 10. But overall, still pretty good. Nicely done, KIRIIL Marchenko.
Yeah, I'm going to give KIRIIL Marchenko a pretty high grade this year. I can't give him as high of a grade this year as last year, just due to circumstances. I mean, he got less points in general in playing, I think, a few less games. But overall pretty good. I'm going to give him an A-, possibly on the cusp of a B+. And he did everything he was asked to do, but then also the team didn't get to the playoffs. So obviously, I think last season I gave him like a 9 out of 10 or like an A, and I believe I said something along the lines to get an A+ next season, he'll have to just help the team get to the playoffs and give that little extra push. Because while he was one of the top scorers, points earners on the team, the team still did not make it to the playoffs. And how good is KIRIIL Marchenko exactly? Well, this season on the Blue Jackets, he had the second most points. In 76 games, he had 27 goals and 40 assists for 67 points. He was a plus minus of 7, 32 penalty minutes. Not outrageous, but decent. 20 of his 27 goals are even strength. 6 of those were power play goals. 1 of those was a shorthanded goal. 7 of his 27 goals, I can't count for shit, were game-winning goals. He averaged 18 minutes and 57 seconds, the highest for any forward. The only other forward to be close to that is Adam Fantilli with 18 minutes and 54 on average. It's pretty impressive. So he's obviously an important part of the team. This is why I said he has to help the team get to the playoffs last year. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. There could be multiple reasons for this. Let's look at his stats from last season and just do a little bit of a comparison. So 79 games last season compared to 76 this season. Okay, so what? 31 goals compared to 27 goals. Okay, not too far off, right? 43 assists to 40 assists, making him 74 points, 7 more points than this year. While it's not a crazy jump or anything, let's look at the plus minus. KIRIIL Marchenko had one of the highest plus minus in the NHL last season. In fact, leading the NHL for a good portion of the year. With a positive plus minus, he ended up with a plus 29. That's huge. That means him and his line were two-way players and had to have played pretty damn good defense or something, because they're scoring way more than they're getting scored on. So last season was kind of KIRIIL Marchenko's breakout season. We knew he had the raw scoring power. He's always, since he came into the league, his first season, 2022-23 season, he's been a 20-plus goal scorer ever since. He just immediately came out of the gate, got 21 goals, 23 goals, then boom, jumped to 31 and 43. Jumped from 42 points to 74 points. Huge improvement, obviously. So I don't think that this is like a drastic decrease in performance this year by any means. I think it was more of the same. I think that in order to get the A+ for next season, he's going to have to go minimum, he's got to aim for 40-40. That's a lot, but it's possible. Especially with KIRIIL Marchenko, it's very possible. He got 40 assists last season, this season. What the Blue Jackets really, really need out of KIRIIL Marchenko is goals and more goals. Especially when your plus minus drops 22. That does show to me that whether it's the line's fault, his fault, whoever's fault, really, the defense wasn't there to kind of make up for the few less goals that got scored. Overall, I'm a huge KIRIIL Marchenko fan. Judging by the eye test, judging by everything, he is overall definitely one of the top. He's top scoring forward, top points earning forward on the team. Top scoring forward too, I guess, in goals. But there's just something missing this season, unfortunately. And who knows what that could be? That could be the mixing up of lines. That could be, new faces. coaching, whatever. I have high hopes for next season. I have high hopes that an A+ is possible. I think our expectations are that of, and I mean, otherwise, it's a perfectly fine season. It's just where our expectations are at compared to the performance we got. Just, it's the killer of all dreams, expectations. You can quote me on that one. I like that. I'm going to remember that one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next season with KIRIIL Marchenko. I don't really have a whole ton other to say about him other than he was pretty much a lock on the shootout until, I mean, he still made 6 of 9 this year, missed 3. So still not bad. He seemed to not be able to miss for the first 6 or first 5, whatever it was. But then I'm sure someone had to watch a lot of video of him and watch what he was doing and seeing how it was going.
I know. I mean,
but yeah, I guess that's my take on KIRIIL Marchenko. Amazing player, doing fantastic things for the Blue Jackets. Will continue doing fantastic things for the Blue Jackets. I feel like he definitely is low key in the NHL as well. People know him about his shootouts, but then he kind of falls. We're a smaller market. We're Columbus.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
And although he's one of the top players on the Blue Jackets teams, there's no Blue Jacket other than Zach Werenski that's in like the top like 50, top 80 almost. Yeah. I'm not like trying to like dog on anyone for any reason from the Blue Jackets. I'm just saying they're a culmination of a high skill. Like I feel like the lowest skill in the Blue Jackets is a lot higher than the lowest skill in the NHL. But then the highest skill is also a little bit lower. So I don't think that that's going to be lost on KIRIIL Marchenko this summer. I think, in fact, he'll be looking to get. I love Zach Werenski, and I'm thrilled to have him on our team, and I absolutely love him, love the way he plays. But it is of my personal opinion that a star forward should be getting more points than a star defenseman.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's offensive minded or not. Obviously, he's getting a lot of assists. He's not the top. KIRIIL Marchenko still had the most goals on the team. Zach Werenski was the 3rd most goal scorer. But points, just overall points, just should probably be a forward.
Yes.
And there needs to be at least one forward, if not 2 in the team that can make it to 30+ goals. Marchenko did it last season, couldn't do it this season. So, do I sound a little disappointed? Maybe. Because I am. Because just because, like I said, expectations were here. I don't think they were set too high, but they just couldn't make them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, good luck in the off season. Train hard and come to camp ready to do better.
So, I mean, first I'd say, like, hey, KIRIIL Marchenko, can you teach Adam Fantilli how to be good in shootouts?
I almost was going to say that too. Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the only thing. Look, it's a minor nitpick, but that's really the only thing you can nitpick of Adam Fantilli about, is that he had a really good season this season. He became a real good 200-foot player. More, you could put him, you can now count on him to put him in all situations: offense, defense, power play, face-offs, power play, penalty killing. Like, you can trust him. But he was 1 for 8 in the shootout, and it's like, like, I don't want to be in a spot where it's like I need a goal in the shootout, and it's like I can't put him out there. He's not good in shootouts. Like, I don't want to be in that spot with Adam Fantilli. I want to be in a spot where it'd be like, you know what? I need a goal in the shootout. Okay, Adam Fantilli, go get that goal. Like, I really want that. So, like, I don't know, Adam Fantilli, can you hang out with like KIRIIL Marchenko or like Charlie Coyle or like Kent Johnson for
I'm
like
surprised with how close
a
him and
little
Kent
bit?
Johnson seem to be.
Yeah. Like, can you hang out with like one of those guys for a bit during the summer and just learn some pointers on how you can be better in the shootout? That's just me though, because everything else is really good about Adam Fantilli. I really do like it. It's just that one little thing that just a little minor nitpick. As for KIRIIL Marchenko, I'll say this is that, you know what, I really liked what you did this season. You know, still 7 out of 10 because you didn't play as good towards the end. You kind of slowed down there. But I think part of that is just you played 4 seasons now with the Blue Jackets, and the season where you just had last season where you scored 31 goals. Now the book is really out on you. That was like a coming out party when you scored 31 goals. And now everyone is paying attention to you. So teams were focusing in on you, and sometimes they stopped you, and you had a harder time. So now it's your job to find a way around that. And I do believe that you will do that. You will find a way around that, and you will be better for that. It's just, you got to do it now, because that's one of the reasons why the Blue Jackets didn't make the playoffs is goal scoring went dry. And who's one of the big goal scorers for the Blue Jackets? KIRIIL Marchenko. And admittedly, again, it's not.
How are they winning so many of their games?
Yeah.
Pure outscoring the other team. There wasn't as much defense involved. They were just outscoring the other team a lot.
Yes. Right. The last 2 seasons, the Blue Jackets have been good at scoring goals. Like that, you can't take that away from them. And if you're playing the Blue Jackets, the last 2 seasons, if you are playing the Blue Jackets, you better hope that you're doing the best that you can and playing some good defense and taking away that goal scoring. Because if you don't, you're going to get your ass handed to you. You're going to get smoked, and it's going to be a long night for you. So, like, Hefty Duck is right. Like, the Blue Jackets have had games the last 2 seasons where they just outscore teams, and they're just, you know what? It's just one of those days where they're just on and they're just having a good game, where they're just putting the puck in the net. But sometimes you're not going to have games like that. It's going to be a real good, tight checking defensive game where it's like 1-0, 2-1. You're going to have to figure out a way around that. And it's not always going to be easy for you. And it's just not necessarily just a KIRIIL Marchenko thing. It's an everyone thing. The guys who are really good at scoring goals on the Blue Jackets, like Adam Fantilli, KIRIIL Marchenko, you know, Zach Werenski, he's a defenseman, but he can shoot it. You know, Mason Marchment, you know, Kent Johnson, just, you know, name a couple guys. Like, you're going to have to figure out a way around that and get better. And even if you put 1 or 2 more goals in the net, that does make a difference. You win those games and you're in the playoffs. Now, the whole scoring drought, that's not the only reason why you didn't get in. There's other reasons why, but that does make a difference. So you're going to have KIRIIL Marchenko and others. You're just going to have to figure out a way around that so that you don't just go completely dry just like that when it comes to scoring goals, and just go back to what we know you can do, which is what you're good at, is just score goals. Because we've seen you have games time and time again where it's like you score 3, 4, 5, 6, even like 8 goals because you're that good. But just more of that and figure out a way around, when teams try and shut you down. How do you figure that out and still win the game? And they'll do that, but it's going to be a learning process on how you get around that.
Yeah, definitely. And it depends what sort of moves come this off season too.
Right.
I would like to see, just for the sake of continuity at some point with this fucking team, most of the guys stick around.
For
I
sure.
don't think they were far off. I think a lot of the pieces are there in place. But geez, man, it's been a new coach every other year.
Yep.
New players coming and going all the time. I understand a lot of that. And now all this noise about Zach Werenski.
Oh,
It's just messing with the team. The thing is, like, there has not been, other than ownership, Mike Priest, Zach Werenski, and like Boone Jenner. Almost everything else has changed at some point with the Blue Jackets in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
When you look at a Stanley Cup winning team like the Canes, how much of that has changed in the last 3 to 4 years? Not a lot. There has been some. Obviously, Don Waddell is now over with the Blue Jackets. There's a GM changing. There's not been a coaching change. Some of their stars are still their stars. Svechnikov's been there for how long? Sebastian Aho. And, and so, like, the pieces have been there, and so it's one of those things where it's like the only team to really have been able to do that so successfully at one point was the Vegas Golden Knights early on in their inception because of the way they were able to wheel and deal and just attract players there. And look at what Florida's doing. Florida didn't have the greatest season and didn't like make it into the playoffs, but they're not selling the farm. They realized, like, it's almost like they took like a little bit of a break this year to catch their breath.
Yeah.
It happens a lot too, just cup fatigue or finals fatigue, whatever you want to call it. And in fact, they're barely changing anything. They're not trading players, they're trading draft picks. They don't give a shit. They just got Brady Tkachuk today.
Right.
Like they're not selling the farm, not getting rid of everything. They're adding pieces to their team that has had success. And I'm not excited to see that happen next year at all, honestly. I don't think Brady Tkachuk is like the number one most guy in the league by any imagination, but the way that he vibed with his brother in like the world thing.
Yeah, the Olympics.
The Olympics. Sorry, all I could think of was World Cup, and that's a different thing. World Cup of hockey is totally different. But in the Olympics and whatnot, and anyway, I'm just not excited to see them with Marchand. Think about how annoying that team's gonna be, dude. They're just gonna be annoying. Bunch of goons.
But at the same time, you can use that against them because you can probably get them to do a dumb penalty, and you can use that against them.
That's true.
So it goes both ways. And then you're right about the Panthers is that, yeah, they didn't have a very good season. Injuries and whole other stuff got in their way. But the truth is, it happens to every team. It's like you have these good years or you make a couple runs to the Stanley Cup final and you win 2 of them. You play all that hockey and eventually it catches up to you. And it's like, in a sense, you have a credit card and you're racking up the credit card and spending all this money, but eventually it's time. The time comes to pay the bill. And in this case, what I mean by it's time to pay the bill is you play all this hockey going to June in the Stanley Cup final, the last 3 seasons, winning 2 of them, guess what? It's time to pay the bill. And the bill that you have to pay is that, you know what? Your team is going to be tired. You're not going to have a very good season. And you will probably not make the playoffs. Or if you do make the playoffs, you're probably going to get knocked out pretty quickly because your team is just so tired and beat up from all the hockey that you've played that you're just not going to be as good. And the Panthers are paying that bill right now. But I think that, you know, with the full off season ready and rested up, they'll be ready to go. So, and that's not just happened to the Panthers. It's happened to every other team that's gone on runs like the Panthers have. They've had to pay that bill. That is just how it is.
Yeah. There definitely is going to be some changes in this offseason. But I really just don't think that there's going to be a lot of moves that are going to leave fans shaking their heads. Like, what is going on with this? What's going on? Why would he think to do that? And I don't think Zach Werenski's getting traded.
No.
I don't think he's asking for a trade. Here, let's just visit this for a second because it's such a hot topic online right now. And we're a decent chunk into the episode right now. Unless there's anything more about KIRIIL Marchenko you wanted to talk about.
No, I think we've done a good job on that. And I just wanted to do like a good 20, 30 minutes about that. And that's exactly what we've done. We've done a good little over 30 minutes about that. So that's good. I'll share my things about the whole Zach Werenski thing, and then we'll get to you, Hefty Doc. Sure. So a lot of this is very stupid, idiotic BS.
Can you enlighten the people who might not fully know yet?
Yeah. Yes. So a lot, it just comes down to this. Let's be honest with ourselves here. It's people from the national media and the outside hockey world, not in Columbus, because what has happened with Dylan Larkin? Dylan Larkin is a Michigan guy through and through. He's from Michigan. He grew up playing in youth hockey programs in Michigan with Zach Werenski. And then Dylan Larkin played his college hockey at Michigan with Zach Werenski. And then Dylan Larkin has also played his entire NHL career in Detroit with the Red Wings. So this guy is totally Michigan man through and through. You can't get any more Michigan than that. Dylan Larkin, it was a big Red Wings fan growing up. And Dylan Larkin played with Zach Werenski at the Olympics this past season in February that won the gold medal. Now, Dylan Larkin asked for a trade from Detroit. He's not very happy with Detroit right now. And so, because of that, people automatically assume from the outside world, not Blue Jackets fans, generally speaking. There are some, but most of the Blue Jackets fans are not doing this garbage. But people from the outside world and the national media are making BS hit jobs against the Blue Jackets and Zach Werenski, saying, Zach Werenski, he's going to want to get traded. He doesn't want to play for the Blue Jackets. He's going to want to get traded because, Dylan Larkin, and he's friends with Dylan Larkin. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else because Dylan Larkin said so, and other stupid, idiotic BS. Knock it off! I'm serious. Knock this crap off. I'm sorry. It's stupid and idiotic because Zach Werenski, time and time again, himself says he likes playing for the Blue Jackets. He likes Columbus. And again, today, Aaron Portzline had an article that came out today. And one of the things he said in this article is he asked Zach Werenski's agent about this. And Zach Werenski's agent shot it down, saying, we have the general idea of what he said is basically, we have no idea where this is coming from. So, that right then and there, I mean, it was already stupid and idiotic to begin with, but that right then and there should put a stop to this BS. When Zach Werenski himself says, I like the Blue Jackets, and when his own agent shoots this down, enough. And then you have, and I just got to say it, you know what? I see some of these Blue Jacket fans, they get all doom and gloom. Oh no, Zach Werenski. Like, no, stop it. You are feeding into what these people want. These national media and the people from the outside world, a lot of these people have this weird obsession with big name star players that are good players. Like, oh, they have to be on big name teams. They have to be on a Montreal or a Toronto or a New York or a Boston. They can't stand that there's good players on small market teams like the Blue Jackets. And this is not just a Blue Jackets thing. I've seen it with other smaller market teams too. I remember seeing it with Minnesota with Kirill Kaprizov before he signed that 8-year deal of $17 million. I saw BS about that too, about, oh, Kirill Kaprizov, he's not going to want to play in Minnesota. He's got to, he's going to want to get traded. And if you read anything in the Minnesota media and Minnesota fans, you would know that was BS. It's the same thing with Zach Werenski. Keeping it in Ohio, we have seen the same exact thing with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, where for years we've heard stupid, idiotic hit jobs and BS articles that say, derp, Joe Burrow, he doesn't like playing for the Bengals. Joe Burrow wants to get traded again. And it's like Zach Werenski, where it ignores the fact that time and time again, Joe Burrow has said multiple times that he likes Cincinnati. He likes playing for the Bengals. And yet all these idiot national writers out there, they keep doing this BS, writing these stupid articles that are not true because, again, they can't stand that a small market team like the Bengals or the Blue Jackets have a good player. We've seen it time and time again, and it's stupid, and it's idiotic, and it's BS, and you need to knock it off. That's what I have to say about that. It just needs to stop. Just stop. And, just stop. That's all and last thing, Zach Werenski, he's signed a long-term deal with the Blue Jackets at $9.5 million. And he still has 2 more years on that contract. He has a house in the Columbus area. He loves being here. So at some point, it has to stop. If my personal opinion, if I was the Blue Jackets, I wouldn't put up with this. I'd be like, you're done. Like, knock it off. Because we've seen it with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. We've seen it with Zach Werenski and the Blue Jackets. And we've seen it with other small market teams. Where this BS with these dumbass articles that are hit jobs that try to get these players out when they don't want to get out. And it just has to stop. I've gone on a little rant here, but it just has to stop. So we'll get Hefty Duck in here and he can say some stuff.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here because I do mostly agree that a lot of this is just talk. And part of that is coming from Brady Tkachuk was on the team that won a gold medal, requested a trade, or was told he was going to get traded, and those were the teams he gave them. Same thing with Dylan Larkin on the gold medal winning team from two teams that weren't close to being cup contenders, asking to be traded. And I get that. Everyone who was on the Olympic team, their stock went up from all of that. Everyone, I don't think that there was like a really poor performance that damaged anyone's reputation or anything at all. They're they're gold medal winners in the Olympics. And it just got more eyes on people who might be from smaller markets, like Zach Werenski. So I understand why there might be speculation out there. Another thing to think about is Zach Werenski's career and how long he has in the NHL. I almost said MLB. Holy shit! I'm watching the Guards game down here. But yeah. So it depends a little bit on his career. So let's talk about that. Zach Werenski has. Oh, I should have prepared this. Oops, I goofed. If I remember correctly, Wikipedia. I'm also trying to hold back a sneeze if I'm starting to talk kind of funny or my face looks funny. If you're watching the live stream, that's why. All right. We got 2 years left at 9.5 cap hit for both years, and he is an unrestricted free agent in 2028 to 2029. So he's 28 years old. He'll be a free agent at the age of 30 or 31, depending on how old he is in the off season. Then, whatever. I think that's for who he is. I think that's a pretty solid deal. He is the highest paid Blue Jacket, followed then by Ivan Provorov. There's not a single forward that is close to making double digits at the moment. That may change. Like I said, there's a lot of evenness amongst the contracts because I feel like the ceiling for the Blue Jackets might be kind of a little bit lower, but the floor is also a lot higher. Like they're through and through. That's just gonna sound mean if I keep that thought on, so I'm gonna drop it. But it's not meant to be mean at all. Anyway, how long does Zach Werenski have? How much value does he have? His value is at its all-time peak. How many years does he have in the NHL? Anywhere from up to 10 years, right? That would put him at 38 years old. You know, we're looking at how old is when did Jack Johnson retire? Whatever. My point being, he won't be around forever. He is a good enough player that on the right team could definitely help them win a Stanley Cup. Not just be on a team that gets there, helping them get there. We, fans of the Blue Jackets who happen to view our show, want it to be the Blue Jackets. I want it to be the Blue Jackets. I really, really freaking do. Don Waddell does. Everybody does. Who's on the team in the organization wants their team to be the one who wins. Now, here's my situation in where I think Zach Werenski could potentially ask for a trade or hint at one. Next season, you know about when Dean Evison lost his job?
All right, so that January. It was
Right.
It was the day after the Blue Jackets beat Utah at Utah in
Yeah, right.
overtime.
He finally won a game and then got let go. It was already too late at that point. It was too far gone. But
Hey,
that was a turning point in the season. It's you do something now, or you just go down with the ship. And I feel like that's where Werenski might be next season. If this next season their Blue Jackets do not look like they're making the playoffs, I think maybe that's when the talks will ramp up a lot, and that's when I think Werenski might be looking at trying to get on a team that could be going towards the cup. And that would leave 1 year on his contract with a new team. That's the situation I see where he would potentially want to ask for a trade. I think at the moment, the trend is trending upwards. And I mean, Don Waddell's not going to try to tank a team in the offseason. He's going to do what he can do to improve the team as best as he can. And he's able to do that. He's able to make a playoff team, a playoff contender. So I think it's silly that you would put all of your time, your heart and soul into this organization for the last how many years? Like decade of his life.
He's been playing with the Blue Jackets since he's been 19.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like 28, turning 29.
Yeah.
In like a month.
Yeah.
July 19th. So like that's a lot of time to put towards an organization to just be like, well, you know what? Y'all are close to being good enough, but I don't want to help you out anymore. I'm gone. That seems like it'd be surprising. And then like Kevin said, like I haven't surfed enough or looked up too much about it, but like you said, his agent come out and saying something about it too. That's the telltale sign. Because like remember when the whole Elvis Merzlikins trade talks started? And Elvis Merzlikins' agent also came out and was like, no, there's a misunderstanding here. There's been no request.
Yes.
To be fair, at least that was an actual misunderstanding of like him saying something in an interview that he kind of like walked back because it was not the right thing to say. He said something the wrong way. And so, yes, I think there's a lot of hype. I feel like this issue is way, way blown up way too big. This could be a, minute long segment, like a question, like if Elliot Friedman was like, I don't know what the point of talking about it so much is, because I've heard nothing from like the media that I know in the Columbus area. I mean, it's potentially, yeah, anyone could get traded. Everyone's on the table, potentially for the right price, for the right offer. I don't think that there's a way that ownership would even let Don Waddell try to trade him. Not right now.
No.
Maybe if the season's really shitty and they had something.
Right.
They're in win now mode, dude. They're in win now mode. They're not like they have to be. And that's the thing too, is in these next 2 years, if they don't make it to the playoffs, then yeah, expect Zach Werenski to be like, all right, guys, look, I've given my all for this long. Please give me something back in return. Let me try to win a cup. That's the only time I see it. I just don't see it right now.
No. I'm just like, I know I said it before, but I'm just sorry. It's stupid and idiotic BS. It's hit jobs because you have no proof of this whatsoever. And when Zach Werenski again and again and again says, I like Columbus, I like playing for the Blue Jackets, and when his agent comes out and says where is this coming from? It just has to stop. You just have to stop. Stop with the BS. Knock it off. You just stop. These people in the national media, stop. Stop with your stupid articles. Stop with your BS. Stop. I get it. You can't stand that a small market team like the Blue Jackets has a good player. That really upsets you. You would rather have that guy in a New York or a Boston or a Montreal or a Toronto.
Original 6.
Yeah, derp, 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 original 6. Like, screw you. Like, get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense. You just need to stop. Knock it off. Knock it off with the BS. And like I said, one more time, we saw it with Joe Burrow and the Bengals, where there was a stupid BS hit jobs, idiotic articles where Joe Burrow doesn't like the Bengals. Derp, 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 derp. Joe Burrow wants to be traded, even though Joe Burrow multiple times has said that, he likes playing for the Bengals and he likes Cincinnati. That doesn't matter to you. You still make those dumbass articles. It's the same thing with Zach Werenski. He says so many times, I like Columbus and I like playing for the Blue Jackets. And his agent says, I don't know where this is coming from. And yet you stupid, idiotic people go, derp, 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 derp. All right, he wants to be traded. He wants to be this and that. Like, no, knock it off. Enough of the BS and your dumbass articles. Stop. Okay? Knock it off. You just need to stop. You just need to stop. You just do. You just do. Because you don't have any proof of that. You're just guessing. You're pulling something out of your ass. You have nothing. You have nothing. So that just needs to stop. But anyways, I've said enough about this, and I would like to move on to the next thing, which is who could the Blue Jackets pick with pick 14? So, the Blue Jackets have pick 14 in the NHL draft this upcoming Friday in the first round. So, who could they pick? So, I'm going to use this article that Jeff Savoda had from BlueJackets.com. Real good article. And there's a common theme here. There's two names that keep popping up. Now, there's other guys, too, that people say that the Blue Jackets could pick. But the two names that keep popping up is this, and you will see it. You will see it, because when we talk about this article, you will constantly see these names that keep popping up. So, start off, Corey Pronman, The Athletic. Oscar Hemming, Boston College. Hemming is likely going in the top 15 and could go earlier than Columbus's pick. In this projection, he lands with the Blue Jackets. Gives him a very talented winger. I think Boston University Center Ty Lawrence and OHL Windsor wing Ethan Belchitz would be strong considerations here as well. Now, there's a theme here that you're going to see with this. Oscar Hemming is one of those names that keep popping up. He's playing at Boston College. He's 6'4", like 200 pounds, and he's big, and he's physical. He's hard to play against, and the dude can score goals. If you look at what the Blue Jackets need, they need a guy on the wing who can score goals. Because if you look at all their prospects, a good chunk of them are defensemen or centers. So, like, they need, like, a good wing prospect here. And even Don Waddell, when talking to the Columbus media, has basically said that we need to really look at our prospect pool and think, how do we, in terms of drafting. So, Corey Pronman says Oscar Hemming. Scott Wheeler, The Athletic, says Oscar Hemming. Why does he say Oscar Hemming? Forwards with Hemming's profile, big, strong, powerful, never linger for too long. The early teens are his projected range, and he's the kind of player that the Blue Jackets should covet, opposite of forwards like Ken Johnson and Connor Garland. And a guy like Oscar Lemming, who's big and physical, is a type of a guy that can open up space for smaller guys like Ken Johnson and Connor Garland. That's the thinking here, which I agree with. Moving on to Aaron Portzline, the Blue Jackets writer for The Athletic. And he also says Oscar Hemming. Why does he say that? The Jackets would be delighted to add Hemming to the mix. He projects as a power forward with size and physicality, which is an element the Blue Jackets are always seeking, especially with smallish wingers, Kent Johnson and Connor Garland in the top 9. Adam, I'm not going to try and pronounce that name, Kimelman, NHL.com. Maybe. I don't know. But he also says Oscar Hemming. Why does he say that? He's an outstanding skater for his size. So he's 6'3", 193. So I was wrong on the weight, but he's still big. And showed a willingness to engage physically. The Blue Jackets have amassed a core of strong big forwards in Adam Fantilli, 6'2", 205, KIRIIL Marchenko, 6'3", 201, Sean Monahan, 6'2", 206, and top prospect, Caden Lindstrom, 6'3", 209. Hemming would fit nicely with that group. We're going to Mike Morelli. Hope that's how you say your name. NHL.com. He's the first one to not say Oscar Hemming. He says Malte Gustafsson from Sweden. His explanation. Gustafsson is an exceptional skater for his size, 6'4", 200, known for his composure under pressure and ability to make a strong first pass. He can run a power play effectively and use his long reach to break up opposing rushes. So I'm not against this idea. If this is the best guy available, you take him. It's a minor nitpick, but if you look at the last 2 drafts the Blue Jackets have, it's been very defenseman heavy, and they pick some centers. So if they pick a defenseman, fine, but that's not at the top of the list here. So, personal preference would be a winger, but hey, if he's the best guy available, pick him. Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff. He has Ryan Lynn, who is a defenseman. Why does he say Ryan Lynn? I like Lynn. He's coming off a solid showing at the U18s and easily one of the most skilled defensemen in the draft class. While Lynn is small at 5'11", he does a really excellent job of making sure opponents don't get near him or the puck. His decision-making is near the top, and he has the skating to burn guys. Tony Ferrari from the Hockey News. What does he say? Oliver Suvanto. God, I probably screwed that up, but oh well. He's from Finland. Why him? Savanto would fit right in when he jumps to the NHL in a couple of years. He's a strong defensive game and a power forward, play on the offense, and should really make a really solid middle six center in the NHL in due time. Cam Robinson, elite prospects, and we're back to Oscar Hemming. That seems to be the theme so far, is Oscar Hemming, the most popular name. Why does he say Oscar Hemming? He's got power, he's got speed, he's got skill. I think there were times this season where we felt like he was going to be a top 10 player. I'm going Oscar Hemming here. He has the power forward skill, he has the body, he has the feet. Josh Wegman and Kyle Cushman from The Score, Oscar Hemming. Why do they say Oscar Hemming? Oscar Hemming didn't begin his OHL year late until December because his Finnish team blocked his potential move to the OHL that strained process resulted in Hemming joining Boston College, where he managed only 1 goal and 8 points in 19 games. The hard-hitting 6'4" defenseman, 6'4" winger could become a breakout candidate once he takes part in a normal season. Mark Scheig, Blue Jackets writer for the Hockey Writers. He's going with Malte Gustafsson. Why does he say that? A 6'4" and over 200 pounds. He's a real physical presence who can play a two-way and shutdown game. Something the Blue Jackets really need in their pipeline. He's already shown he can play with men by the significant minutes he's played in the SHL, which is the big hockey league over in Sweden as a 17-year-old. While his game isn't flashy, it's very effective. Now, that is just one article. Another thing to note here is that Ethan Belchetz is another guy that keeps popping up with the Blue Jackets. Why? Because he's kind of like a Oscar Hemming type of a player where he's big, he's physical, hard to play against, and he can score goals. So that's another name that keeps popping up to the Blue Jackets is Ethan Belchetz, and he's going to Michigan State. Another thing to consider here, if you look at the Blue Jackets historically, they like Big Ten guys. Whether that be R.J. Umberger, Ohio State, Ryan Dzingel, Ohio State, Zach Dalby, Ohio State. Those are Big Ten guys that have played for the Blue Jackets. We look at Wisconsin. Jack Skilly, he played at Wisconsin and also played for the Blue Jackets. One of their top defenseman prospects, Corson Kuhlmans, who signed a 1-year deal recently for the Blue Jackets. Where did he play his college hockey? Wisconsin. Jackson Smith, who's also one of their top defenseman prospects. He's currently playing at Penn State, another Big Ten school. Blue Jackets prospect Caden Lindstrom is currently playing at Michigan State, another Big Ten school. And of course, the Michigan guys that have played at Michigan for the Blue Jackets, like Jack Johnson, like Kent Johnson, like Adam Fantilli, like Zach Werenski. So it's not that far-fetched that they could get at that the Blue Jackets could be looking at a guy like a Ethan Belchetz, because Michigan State, the Blue Jackets, historically like Big Ten guys. There's another guy in this area that maybe you could get is Wyatt Cullen. He's another Big Ten guy. He's going to go play at Minnesota. So that article that we read, there's a couple good guys that could go there. But the two guys that stand out the most that I keep seeing pop up that are connected to the Blue Jackets are Oscar Hemming and Ethan Belchetz, one of those two. So that's just something to think about there, that when you're watching the draft this Friday and you're thinking, who could the Blue Jackets pick with pick 14? It could be anyone. But those two guys right there are the ones that keep popping up to the Blue Jackets. So that's something to consider when you're watching the draft this upcoming Friday.
Yeah. I got just a couple stats on a couple of them, just to give people an idea of who the Blue Jackets might be looking at. I only have 3 of them. All right. I have Wyatt Cullen, Oscar Hemming, and Ethan Belchetz. I don't know. I just picked 3 at random. I saw Oscar Hemming's name a lot, and Ethan Belchet's, and Wyatt Collins, who Tankathon.com has as the 14th possible pick. They are all forwards, all left-hand shots. One's listed as a left winger. Ethan Belchet is specifically listed as a left winger, but forward's forward. So Wyatt Collins, currently committed to Minnesota, is 6'1", 181 pounds. That's a very average size. That is 1 inch taller than I, and about the same weight. All right, guys. I guess no one's ever seen me stand up on the show. I guess if you met me in real life, like at the games,
it's Hefty Duck is right. I've seen him in person many times. He's got some size to him. You know, he's right. He's right when he says that. You know.
Oh, and definitely he's no 6'5", 230 pounds, but okay. So he's been playing. It looks like his stats start in 2021-22 when he was like playing for a 14 and under team. Not a whole lot going on there. So he's played on the U.S. national under 17 team. Played 55 games for them. That was 2 years ago. Played for the U.S. national under 18 team this past year. Kind of currently. Yeah, it's 2026, right? Yeah, so he's currently kind of on there. And the USA under 18 World Junior Championship team. Those might be already over. He played 5 games for those each. Anyway, he is a points machine sometimes. He has yet to actually play for the University of Minnesota. That's going to be for the 2027-2028 season. So he's still in high school, isn't he? Then? Yeah.
He will be. He's entering college.
Okay. So he played the under 18. So he's got 1 more year of like juniors, and then he'll play at the University of Minnesota in 2027. So there's that. Let's see. So I'll give you some stats here. U.S. national team, under 18 team this year so far, 2025-2026, 40 games played, 16 goals, 29 assists for 45 points. So he's a bit more than a point per game player there. Also, a bit more than a minute per game player of penalties. Anyway, yeah, he's young. Birthday September 8th, 2008. So we wouldn't see him for a while anyway, but compelling. He's definitely got room to grow. He's young, very young, so he's going to grow. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You're going to grow some. Let's move on over to Oscar Hemming. So just for reference, I forgot Wyatt Collins from the United States. I don't know from where. I didn't look. I think probably Minnesota. But Oscar Hemming. So he has been playing for Boston College. He played 19 games for them this last season. He is from Finland. He's 6'4", 198 pounds. That guy is pretty big. Birthday is August 13th, 2008. So he's just under 18 years old. He'll be 18 here in August. NCAA, Boston College. Talked about that. He played for the Finland under 17, Finland under 18. Looks like he did pretty decent for them. Was a point per game or more player. I would be pretty okay with seeing this guy. I mean, with the way that I've seen Don Waddell choose players, 6'4" and 198, I think will be taken into consideration. Usually once you get to the draft era, I mean, there's definitely guys with more skill than others, but if you're able to get that far and you have size, they can work with you. They can teach you things. They can help develop you. So, Ethan Belchet. I kind of like this guy. We were just talking about size, and this guy has even more. All these guys are around the same age, like 17 to 18 years old. So, he is committed to Michigan State University. Michigan State. I know we love to talk about our Michigan players.
It's other
the
school.
Wolverines. This is a different Michigan. He's committed there. He hasn't played there yet. He will this next 2026-2027 season. So unlike what we talked about with Wyatt, who has another year to go, before he's in Minnesota, he is playing this year. And sorry, I talked too long. Had to yawn. So this last season, though, he played in the OHL. So I should say he played for Canada under 18, the Helenka Gretzky Cup. Played 5 games, had 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points in 5 games. He played for the Windsor Spitfires this last season in the OHL. 57 games played, 34 goals, 25 assists for 59 total points, also 45 penalty minutes. So this guy's out there breaking ankles and making goals happen. More than a point per game player in the juniors. And I mean, you can see guys take over and start taking over in the juniors. I mean, we've heard all about, Macklin Celebrini and everyone else who's been through it. So he is committed to Michigan State University, which is where Blue Jackets prospect Caden Lindstrom is hanging out. Yep. Is he still playing there one more season?
He's at minimum. He's probably another year or two. At minimum, it's another year or two. But he'll still be there. And Michigan State had a really good loaded team last season, and a lot of those guys are gone. So like he's going to get more minutes now.
Yep. So that'll be pretty cool is to see. I mean, you never know. Obviously, the entire state of Michigan is good at producing hockey players, whether it's Michigan State or
Michigan.
Not.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my pre-draft analysis. I know it's not super in-depth. I think that with this, that I mean, go for the guy who's going to be NHL ready the soonest. That sounds to me like it might be the 6'5", 230-pound dude, but that's just, I don't know much else about him other than that. He's Canadian. If they pick him up, great. Like I said earlier this episode, I think Blue Jackets are more of in like a win now kind of mode. So I think that and they could just I don't know, going for the most NHL ready guy. That's my opinion.
So and where the Blue Jackets are where they are right now, because if you look at the last 4 seasons, the Blue Jackets have made improvements every season, going from 56 points, going from 58 points, 66 points, 89 points, 92 points. So you're seeing good, steady progression where every season you're getting better. And you are closer to being a win now team than you are a rebuilding team. And so, yes, okay. So because of that, your draft pick isn't going to be as high, and the guy is not going to be as ready compared to if you had a higher pick. But also, another thing is that because you kind of have a lower pick, and you're kind of closer to being a win now team, it gives you a little more flexibility. You don't, whereas if you're a team that's not very good and you have like a top 5 pick, like the guy that you pick in that, there's extra added pressure that like the guy that you pick, it better be a real good player to help you out. There's that extra pressure. Like where you don't have as much pressure if you have a lower pick. Like, yeah, you still got to make a good pick to help out your team eventually. But if it's a lower pick, the pressure isn't as the same. So there's that. But another thing we do have to consider here is that this has been talked about for a bit now, that Don Waddell has said that he is willing to trade the pick if it makes sense, if it's a good deal out there. So there is a possibility that the Blue Jackets trade pick 14. That could be for another draft pick where he could use the draft pick and something else to go up in the draft. he could use the draft pick to go down in the draft, or you use pick 14 in a package to get a player that's now to help you now. That is something to consider too, that Don Waddell could do that. And it's not that far off that he could do that, because last draft, last off season, the Blue Jackets had 2 draft picks in the first round, picks 14 and 20, and he tried using those 2 draft picks to get in a trade to get Noah Dobson. Now, of course, it didn't work out because the Islanders were asking way too much. They wanted those 2 first-round draft picks, a prospect, and Dmitry Voronkov. And at that point, you just got to say, you know what, screw it. That's too expensive. Like, come on, Islanders. You gotta add something on your end of the bargain. Give us a draft pick or a prospect to go with that if you want that. So in the end, that didn't work out. So he did try to trade the draft picks. It didn't work out, but he did try it. And fast forward now to the draft, 1 year almost to the draft, this upcoming draft, almost 1 year later, that, yeah, he could do it again. He tried trading the draft picks last offseason. It didn't work out. And he said that he is open to doing it again. It just has to be the right deal, and it has to make sense. And if they don't trade the draft pick, that's okay, because you can still use that draft pick to get a guy that either helps you out, 1 to 3 years down the road, or you can do this. Let's say you get a draft pick, you use them, and another team comes along and, they say, ooh, hey, Blue Jackets, I really like that guy that you got there. What would it take to get him? And then the Blue Jackets could say, well, this, and this. And sometimes the answer is no, and the team goes away. But sometimes the answer is yes. And then you use that guy that you just drafted in another deal to go get something. The Blue Jackets have done that. An example of this is the 2018-2019 season, when the Blue Jackets got Matt Duchene. What did they use in that trade? They used a first-round draft pick and 2 of their prospects that they had already drafted in previous drafts. Those prospects were Vitaly Avramov and Jonathan Davidson. They used that plus the first-round draft pick to get Matt Duchene. In the end, it worked out. Good trade, because Matt Duchene was an awesome player for the Blue Jackets. He helped them get to the playoffs and helped the Blue Jackets knock out the Lightning in that series. Matt Duchene had 3 goals in that series. And then he had a big goal in double overtime against the Bruins in game 2 to help them win that game. And then he had another big goal in game 3 to help the Blue Jackets win that game 2-1. So overall, good trade. It was a good trade. Matt Duchene, awesome player. So that's another thing that the Blue Jackets could do with that pick, where even if you don't trade that pick, you use that guy, and then you can save him for something, whether he helps you 2-3 years down the road and he's on your team, or that you use that guy that you drafted to get you something in a trade, like they did with Matt Duchene.
Yeah, we could see some wheeling and dealing. I saw a graphic earlier that said, Florida traded all their first round picks from, I've lost like 8 years or so, or from like 2021 to like 2029.
Yeah.
And they got 2 cups out of it. I'm just I don't look at them as being like, oh, they're going down the shitter because they don't have a good young core coming up through. I look at them as a contender next year and the year after that.
You could,
if you have quality pieces that you can trade for other quality pieces if need be. And I think that's where the Blue Jackets are at right now. They're looking at where people they could let some people walk this offseason.
Well,
Markman, Branson, Boone, Jenner, they could just let them walk if they wanted. There's so much open cap space right now that I personally believe the Blue Jackets should be out there looking for superstars and to sign a superstar than to sign the next big thing. We have Adam Fantilli. He's very young still. We have Ken Johnson, also very young. We'll see what that turns out to be. Yarmo, okay, set it up. The young core, fine.
Yeah.
It was great. That's all it ever was the young core was good. It was never, hey, we're making it past the first round of the Stanley Cup or the playoffs more than once. And so I think that is the model we might see taken here. I mean, look at the Canes though. The Checkers, their AHL affiliate, they're really good too. They're good top to bottom. It doesn't matter if you have a million draft picks or not. There are ways to pick up these players. Personally, I would like to see some just superstar talent rather than a kid to look forward to seeing in 3 years.
And another thing to consider here is that having first-round draft picks definitely helps, that you can use those to help your team out, get some guys. But not having first-round draft picks is it can be a detriment, but it's not always, because the thing is about the draft, even if you're a team that's consistently good and you're making the playoffs and you're making runs to the Stanley Cup and maybe you'll win one or two, the thing is you can still find a good guy in the draft, even if you don't have a first-round draft pick that you can use for your team. So we've seen it's not just the blue, the Blue Jackets. They've had some draft picks over the years where they're not first rounders and they turned out to be good players. KIRIIL Marchenko, he's a second rounder. Cam Atkinson was like a fifth or sixth round. Vladislav Gavrikov, when he played for the Blue Jackets, fifth or sixth round. Albert Bjorkstrand, when he played for the Blue Jackets, was a third round guy. Elvis Merzlikins was a third round guy. So you can, and that's just going down the list. And then, Marcus Nudavara, he was a good player for the Blue Jackets, and they got him in the 7th round. So, having first-round draft picks does help. It does make it easier on you. But if you don't have them, it's not the end of the world, because you can still get good guys in the draft later on. You can still be that team that's still consistently good, and you can still draft good. That's especially important for a small market team like the Blue Jackets, or probably like a Minnesota, or like the Florida Panthers or something like that. There are a smaller market team that you're going to have to be smarter with your drafting. And even if you don't have a first-round draft pick, you can still get some guys and just be a little more smarter with your draft pick and draft and develop, because you're a smaller market team and that's more important to you compared to a big market team. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is if you don't have first-round draft picks, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, because you can still get some good guys, whether it be in free agency or in the draft, that can help you. Because even the good teams that are consistently good, you still hear about it from time to time, where they have a good player and ooh, they got him in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, or the 5th round or something like that. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, no one could have called it. No one could have called it at the time. There's no possible way in hell you could have called it. But Kirill Kaprizov famously went in the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's a deep draft pick that turned out to be the most expensive player in the NHL. Who would have thought it? Can you call that a decade out? No.
No.
You have no clue, man. Like, it's always going to be a gamble. Obviously, the more first round draft picks you have, the more the odds are in your favor, obviously. But you don't necessarily need to do that. The Blue Jackets have already done that for like the last decade.
Yep.
It's time to do the next step, the next part of the strategy, which is, okay, you developed a young core. Now what? That's all you
Right.
have. You don't have playoff wins. It's time to develop a playoff team
Yes.
while using some pieces from them, but also, I mean, possibly utilizing some of those potentially good people to get people who are proven to be good.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the potential. I just had a random thought. It's ADHD, Brand. This is my bad.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to the Zach Werenski thing. I almost don't want to like lose the thought, so I almost want to say it, but it's so out of. Oh yeah. Okay, I'll just say it real quick. Matt, you were talking about how like people like when there's rumors about them, they come out and they're like, "No, I want to play here." You know who didn't do that? And when there was rumors about him, it ended up being true. And that was Patrick Laine, and that's because the actual Columbus media was the one talking about it.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, no, he's not happy here.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that's totally besides the point. ADHD ran my bad, but had to get that out there when it came in the noggin there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm obviously we're going to be talking about how the draft went next week.
Yep.
So we'll know soon. And free agency is all but a week and a half away. That's the next thing we'll be talking about next week, is because that's the week after that we'll know after free agency. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's just so much potential with the Blue Jackets, and there has been, and that's what's been painful, is the potential without the results.
Right.
So I think it's time, and I'll say it again, go with the proven, tried and true, experienced guys, and I think that's what Don Waddell started to do last year, and we may see more of it. If we don't see any big blockbuster trades, I'm not offended. Because like, how long did we have to wait for like Charlie Coyle to be signed? I don't remember. He signed, was it July? Like right away last year? I thought it was halfway through the summer.
Well, Charlie Coyle was already on a contract when we got him.
Oh. Well, I meant when that trade happened, just in general.
Oh, that trade was right around the draft last year.
Okay.
Because in that same trade, we not only got him, we got Miles Wood around that time too.
Oh yeah, Miles Wood.
And then also around that time, shortly after that, when free agency started, that's when they got Isaac Lundestrom. So like the Blue Jackets did make moves, and they do want to make moves again. And I'm just gonna say, for some of you people out there, you just need to settle down. You're freaking out too much because the Blue Jackets need to make moves. They need to make moves. It's like, yeah, okay. You think that the Blue Jackets don't want to make moves? They do, but at the same time, two to tango, everyone. It takes two to tango. You can make all the moves in the world. You can do it, but it doesn't mean anything if another team doesn't want to do it with you. Because last year, the Blue Jackets They tried to get Noah Dobson, didn't work. They tried to get Rasmus Anderson, that didn't work. Okay. And then a bunch of other moves they tried to do, it didn't work. So you can, make a move. Okay, yeah, okay, I agree, but you got to get another team to want to do it with you. Just saying, we got to make a move just because gets you nowhere. Realize that, understand that. It takes two to tango. Yes, we want the Blue Jackets to make a move. I get that. I understand that. But for some of you people out there, it's just a bit much. You're freaking out too much. Like, why aren't the Blue Jackets making a move? Settle down. Settle down. Settle down. Settle down. Let's settle down. Settle down. Settle down. Settle down. Two to tango. You need a team to do a move with you. And if they don't want to do it, that's the end of that. That's all I have to say about that. Let's just settle down here. Let's just settle down here just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Just a little bit. Let's settle down. Settle down.
Yeah, there's not going to be a move for the sake of making moves, because I already said it earlier in the show too about I assume you did talk. Okay, your screen froze for me for a little bit, and I was really hoping that you actually did stop talking instead of like it just froze and I just started talking. Moves to make a move aren't going to happen. I just mentioned this early in the episode about trying to keep a little bit of cohesion with the team for more than 6 months. Like, I'm not joking. I need this coach to be here for at least 1 year, one more full year. Full year. There's going to be some changes. Obviously, every year it changes are inevitable, but for real, they're not just going to make a move just to make a move. What would the point of that be? I'm just messing with the vibe, man. That is one thing that's never talked about, that was not talked about as much too, is just like the fit of someone in the room, whether or not their talent works with them, but just like how they get along. I think that was one thing I heard rumors of with Line in the locker room with the Blue Jackets, and I've heard it in the past with other players too. But that's one thing that I feel like this locker room is a pretty good bunch of guys and have each other's backs, and they all like each other. It's a good group that I think really, I don't know, dude. If Bonus was here the whole year,
Playoffs.
very likely. Just for whatever system he was doing, whatever it was worked. Hell,
Yep. So
I don't know.
all right.
Did you see Torch isn't getting rehired?
Yeah, that was expected though.
Yeah.
Because even John Tortorella said that he was done after the season. Basically, what that was is, you know what? Vegas, at least from Vegas's perspective, wasn't doing as good as they thought that they should be doing. And albeit I still think it's a little goofy that you fired your coach towards the end of the season. If I probably should have fired him sooner.
Yeah, 8 games left. That's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's too late for my liking. Should have fired him sooner, but that's besides the point. But you did it anyways. And so you get a guy like a John Tortorella who has shown that he can be a good coach, but also a guy that will not put up with your BS and will call you out if you're not doing good. but then will also lift you up if you are doing good and hold people accountable, both good and bad. And, kind of like what Rick Bowness is doing with the Blue Jackets. You just need a guy kind of to set you right, kind of point you in the right direction, and then go from there. That's essentially what it was with John Tortorella, is that Vegas kind of felt like they needed a guy to point them in the right direction and hold them accountable. And, well, that's exactly what he did. He held them accountable, pointed them in the right direction, showed them that there's a certain way that you have to play. And in the end, I'd say it worked out for them. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So that's essentially what it was. Now, can they, with the new coach that they have, can they keep that going? Can they take the lessons that they learned from Torts and keep it going? That remains to be seen, but that's essentially what it was. Is Vegas felt like that they needed a guy to kind of point them in the right direction and hold them accountable.
Yeah, I totally get that. And honestly, if I was Torts after like all these years, I would just be like, listen, I'm gonna go back to being on the news.
Yep, TV.
Yeah. Why not?
So, anyways. All right, so on to the next thing I'd like to talk about, and I'm going to put this up on the screen here, which is this. So, we have the Big Ten. I'm a Big Ten guy. I like talking about Big Ten, especially college hockey. Got Ohio State flag in the background here, besides, Blue Jackets flag. But I'm a Big Ten guy, especially hockey. And we talk about Big Ten hockey on the show. And the Big Ten has released the hockey schedule for Big Ten conference play for next season for all Big Ten teams. So I'm going to be sharing the schedule for every Big Ten team, except for Notre Dame, who is a part of the Big Ten for hockey. And for whatever reason, Notre Dame did not release their Big Ten hockey schedule. I don't get why they didn't do that, but they did, because I looked at every other Big Ten team and they released their schedule. So if you're watching this show and you don't see Notre Dame, that's why. Because for whatever reason, Notre Dame didn't release their Big Ten hockey schedule. Every other school did. So I'm going to share all the schedules here for every Big Ten team. So starting off, we have Minnesota. So the Gophers will start their season in the Big Ten. Their Big Ten conference play will be, first off, it's going to be home against Penn State. Then they will be home against Wisconsin. Then they will be at Notre Dame. Then at Michigan State. Home against Michigan. At Ohio State. Home against Notre Dame. Home against Michigan State. At Wisconsin, at Penn State, versus Ohio State, and at Michigan. So, there you go. There is, and this one right here, at Ohio State, that's one to look out because Minnesota has two Blue Jackets prospects. They have goalie Melvin Strahl and defenseman Tanner Hendricks. So when the Gophers come to town and they're playing at Ohio State, that'd be a good game to see two Blue Jackets prospects who play for Minnesota. So that's the schedule for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Next up, we have Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Badgers start off their Big Ten conference play versus Notre Dame. So home against Notre Dame, then at Minnesota, home against Ohio State, home against Penn State, at Michigan, home against Michigan State, at Penn State, at Ohio State, home against Minnesota, at Michigan State, home against Michigan, at Penn State. I think that's a typo. That should not be Michigan. And at Notre Dame. I am going to That's wrong. I made a mistake there. I'm going to quickly look up the Wisconsin schedule because I know that is wrong because you can't be playing Michigan twice there. So let's look this up here. Just a second here. Okay. Because we're gonna fix this. We are going to fix this. Let's Okay, I'm looking this up. So let's see here. Let's see. Okay, that should be over. Where did I do? Okay, so let's see here. Versus Minnesota. Okay. Let's see. Versus Minnesota at Michigan State. At Michigan. Okay, you know what? Okay. Michigan is on there one too many times. So we're gonna fix this. We're gonna fix this live on the show. We're gonna get rid of that. All right, there we go. So there you go. That's now fixed. So that's the schedule for Wisconsin. Next up, we have Michigan. Michigan starts their Big Ten hockey schedule at Ohio State, home against Penn State, home against Michigan State, at Michigan State versus Wisconsin, at Minnesota, at Notre Dame, home against Ohio State, at Michigan State again, home against Michigan State, and then versus Notre Dame, at Wisconsin versus Minnesota. So that's a home game versus Minnesota and home versus Penn State. Now, there's a reason why Michigan plays Michigan State multiple times compared to other teams. So Michigan has a series against Michigan State every year called Duel in the D, where they play a neutral site game in Detroit at the Red Wings Arena. So they take one game away from both Michigan and Michigan State for that game. So to compensate for that, Michigan and Michigan State get one extra game against each other. So that's why that is, because normally you're only playing teams twice, but because of their neutral site game they do every year, they get an extra game to compensate for the game that gets taken away from them. So there's that. So that's your schedule for Michigan in the Big Ten. Next up, we have Michigan State. So Michigan State starts their Big Ten hockey schedule at Notre Dame, at Michigan versus Michigan, at Ohio State versus Minnesota, then at Wisconsin versus Penn State, then at Minnesota, then versus Michigan, then at Michigan versus Wisconsin, at Penn State versus Notre Dame, and they finish off their Big Ten schedule versus Ohio State. Oh, and another thing to consider here is this game right here at Ohio State. Go check that one out because Michigan State has Blue Jackets prospect Caden Lindstrom. So that'd be a good game to see Caden Lindstrom when he comes to town. Next, Penn State. Penn State is at Minnesota, then home against Notre Dame, at Michigan, at Wisconsin versus Ohio State, at Michigan State versus Wisconsin, at Notre Dame versus Minnesota versus Michigan State, at Ohio State, and they finish their Big Ten schedule home against Michigan. And this game right here at Ohio State, I checked that one out because Blue Jackets prospect Jackson Smith is a really good defenseman, plays at Penn State. So this would be a good game right here to check out Blue Jackets prospect Jackson Smith when he comes to town. Oop. And we're finishing off with Ohio State. Ohio State coming in hot, starting their Big Ten play for hockey with a home game versus Michigan. What a start. Wow. That's an awesome way to start off the season. You get Michigan to start off your Big Ten season. You then get Wisconsin at Wisconsin. That's going to be two hard games right off the bat because you're playing Michigan, who's always good at hockey, who is just in the Frozen Four. You're playing at Wisconsin, who's historically good at hockey and was just in the national championship game. So two hard games off the bat for Ohio State. Then you have a home game against Notre Dame. Hopefully Ohio State does better against Notre Dame this season, because this past season, Ohio State went 1-3 against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was last place in the Big Ten. In 25 games in the Big Ten, Notre Dame went 5-25, and Ohio State went 1-3 against that. So that's not good. Hopefully Ohio State does better. Versus Michigan State at Penn State, versus Minnesota at Michigan, versus Wisconsin. Oh my goodness. The schedule makers are not doing Ohio State any favors here. Their first two games is Michigan at Wisconsin, and then, oh my goodness, these three games right here, you have to play the big dogs of the Big Ten. Minnesota at Michigan, home versus Wisconsin. My goodness, that the schedule makers are kind of doing Ohio State dirty here, but hey, if you get through this, you'll be better for it. At Notre Dame, at Minnesota, versus Penn State, and versus Michigan State. Wait a minute. That should say at. I screwed up here. That should say at. We're going to fix that. That should say at Michigan State. We are going to fix this live on the show. Here we go. All right. There you go. There it is. Right there. Live on the show at Michigan State. There you go. So, one last time. So, we're going to quickly go through it. There you go. There's the schedule for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. So, and also Ohio State, great logo here, mascot logo, Brutus. You need to be selling this stuff on like shirts and sweatshirts and hats and jerseys and a whole bunch of more. But anyways, that's besides the point. So these are your schedules for Big Ten conference play for hockey next season for every Big Ten team. If I see Notre Dame's schedule, I'll put it up on the show, but I did not see Notre Dame. They did not release their schedule for whatever reason. I don't know why they didn't do it, but every other Big Ten team did. So there you go. That is your Big Ten conference play schedule for every Big Ten team in hockey next season.
Very cool. Can't wait to see Ohio State get blown out 3 games in a row.
Cool. Yeah, and isn't that the sad? Oh, the sad reality of Ohio State hockey. Oh boy, average at best, and then you play games where you get smoked by Minnesota or Wisconsin or Michigan, and then you don't like it, but you accept it for what it is because that's just how it is, because Ohio State's a football school and they really don't put money in any other sports besides Ohio State. They really don't put any NIL or recruiting in other sports besides football. So Yeah, you sometimes they'll pull off an upset win, and that's cool. But most of the time, I follow them on Twitter. You check in, I wonder how they're doing in hockey, and then you look up the score on Twitter, and it's like, oh God, no. Okay, oh, they're getting smoked by Wisconsin, or they're getting smoked by Michigan or Minnesota. Okay, never mind. Okay, that was disappointing. You know what? I'll just stop looking at Twitter. So that's just how it is. But yay, it is what it is. There's a reason why all the good players that the Blue Jackets have are coming out of Big Ten schools like, Michigan, or, eventually be Michigan State with Caden Lindstrom and, whatever, and you see good players coming out of Minnesota or Michigan or Wisconsin, whatever. It happens. That's just how it is.
Way it is. Shoot. Do you got anything left?
Let's see here. Yes. I just kind of find that I'm just going to say this. So I've seen this from like Steve Dangle and other like people that are like that live in Canada and are fans of Canadian teams / people in the media up in Canada, and they get really upset and pissy about this when you bring up the fact that like players keep leaving Canada to go somewhere else. And there are multiple reasons why, whether that be taxes and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the thing that I would like to focus on is this. I think it's pretty fair to say this now, because this keeps happening. Players keep leaving. I think to a certain extent, why players leave Canada is because of the extra added scrutiny and just player of fans and media that at times take it way too far and just nitpick you for every single little thing that you do, good or bad. And just some of the stuff that they say to the guys is just a bit much. And it does not surprise me that players have probably said, screw this, I'm leaving and I'm going to go somewhere else. Why? Well, let's look at some of the big names over the years that have left Canada and have gone to American teams. Whether that be Mitch Marner to Vegas, Ryan O'Reilly went to Nashville. The Tkachuk brothers, whether Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, they're now down in Florida playing for the Panthers. Quinn Hughes went to Minnesota. Johnny Gaudreau played for the Blue Jackets. I think we've gotten to a point where I think it's fair to say that to a certain extent, the extra added scrutiny is a bit much and a bit unnecessary, where you're just being too nitpicky and you're on their ass about everything. And let's call it what it is. Your behavior to some of these players is not good, especially if they're American. You, for whatever reason, to a certain extent, are rude to them, especially after the Olympics. The behavior that I have seen from many people, including some Canadians, whether it be on Twitter or just watching different videos of different hockey commentators from Canada, has been awful. I'm just speaking in generalities, but some of the stuff that you've said has been awful. And you are freaking out because whether it be a political disagreement or some other reason, I just think it's stupid and idiotic and it's not necessary. And then it comes to the point to where you're asking these guys like an Austin Matthews or a Brady Tkachuk or other players where every other question is a political question. Why'd you go to the White House? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Do you like Trump? Do you not like Trump? Do you do like this? Do you like that? And at some point, my opinion on this, I would have to say that the players are probably looking at that like, dude, what the heck, man? Like, why are you asking me this garbage? I'm a hockey player. I don't really probably pay attention to political stuff. Why are you asking me political stuff? And it probably got annoying to the fact they're like, okay, dude, why are you doing this? Like, that's just annoying. It just, you're making it a bigger issue than it really is, because you win a championship, at least in America, regardless of who the president is, a political party, they say, hey, good job. Come celebrate at the White House. It happens time and time again. And it's really not that big of an issue. And for whatever reason, the Canadian people are making a bigger issue out of it than it actually was. And just asking them unnecessary questions, every question, like again and again and again. And the one video I see that reminds me of this is Brady Tkachuk. He comes back from the Olympics, probably feeling pretty good about himself. He represented America, won the gold medal, one of the best moments of his life. The whole country's behind you celebrating a big moment. The Americans winning gold in the Olympics at hockey, the first time since 1980, 46 years, and you beat Canada. Awesome. And then he goes back to Canada, and they're unnecessarily being on their ass about it, and they're asking questions, and he handled it cool with class. He handled it well, but you could see it in his face. The body language was just like when they're asking him questions about that and political BS, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you asking me this shit? Like, knock it off. And you put that and just other stuff where you're just rude to them and just nitpicking at them for every single little thing that you do. Put all those things together, and I could see why players are just like, screw it. I'm done with this. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to an American team where, you know what? I can still make some money and I can still play hockey, but I can have a nice night out on the town with my family. No one's going to bug me. And the media, sure, we'll still get some criticism from the media, but they're not going to be on my ass every single day and nitpick every single little thing that I do, good or bad. And to a certain extent, I think that's the reason why you see players like the Tkachuk brothers going from Canada down to Florida for the Panthers, and Quinn Hughes from Vancouver to Minnesota, and Johnny Gaudreau from Calgary to Columbus to play for the Blue Jackets, and so much more. So that's just me going on a little rant there.
I have some agreement with some of that. I do think that is an annoyance. I mean, I don't know if you remember a few years ago now that when Connor McDavid was walking to his car with a woman that was not his wife, and in Canada, and he was being recorded by someone on their phone, and then they're like, "Hey, Connor McDavid," and he looks up and he's just like, and then they just like walk away like real quickly and whatnot, and like how big of a stink that was. I mean, because of it was a star, Connor McDavid, they squashed it pretty quick, but like it was just nosy up in your business bullshit. I do agree with that to a certain extent. I also believe though that is the icing on the cake of the payment. I don't know. You could literally sign for less for an American-based team, especially depending on what state you're in. But almost any American team, you could possibly sign for less and make more and keep more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you I don't understand how it fully works, because obviously sometimes they play in Canada, sometimes they play in the US, but I'm sure since the majority of their games are played in the United States, then that it would just you'd pocket more of it. You just simply would. Um, I has nothing nothing to do with, whatever. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I and I think that it has a lot to do with both those things.
Mhm.
And also just the experiences too. I believe there's a reason that Florida's a great destination to go. Florida's super, super tempting for almost any NHL player. Not only is it nice there the majority of the year, and the time that you have off, you can go back home or go wherever you want where it's not quite as hot. Um, it's not is it nice there like year round, but I don't believe they have income tax. It's huge,
Yeah.
massive. That means you're just automatically taking home this much more percentage of your paycheck. And it's simple. Be bothered less, make more money. Why stay in Canada unless you're from there?
Mhm.
Here's the reason to stay in Canada. You are Canadian and you speak French. Go to Montreal.
Yeah.
They will take you. No, but yeah, I something's gonna have to give with either the NHL or Canada, like the country of it, if they want to see stars stay. Because I
Mhm.
think it's a matter of time till we're watching. I mean, we saw Quinn Hughes leave Vancouver. We could be potentially seeing Connor McDavid leaving Edmonton. There was rumors about Austin Matthews, but I think that
Yep.
that's been squashed now. But I think it's a matter of time too. It's very much like the whole, in my opinion, if something were to happen with him, it would be because they're tanking and he's getting to part of his career where he needs to win now or just coast the rest of the way. Like that's so. Yeah, if it were me, I would want to play and live in the United States uh, for those reasons. I understand why you might not agree with whatever you want to agree with. That's your right. But make more money. Be bothered less.
You you can't you absolutely can believe in what you want to believe, and you can say what you want to say. You can disagree with what you want to disagree with. You can agree with what you want to agree with. But you just can't be a dick about it and just nitpick every single little thing. Agree or disagree. You just can't. That at some point it just becomes an annoyance and people hate you for it. And then they said, screw it, I want nothing to do with this. I'm gonna go somewhere else. So like in many ways, because hockey is very big and very popular in Canada. It's basically like God up there. And so, because of that, you are going to get very passionate people that really like hockey and they really get into it. And you get lots of awesome, good support because of that. And that is good. And to a certain extent, that makes it a good place to be, something that you would want to play for. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, something's going to have to give. You're going to have to, someone's either going to have to say something or you're going to have to figure something out and just be like, guys, knock it off. Because that same level of enthusiasm and very positive support and just really, support that people really get into it. That can also be the other way, where people they take it way too far, and then and people are a dick to you, and they're an ass, and they nitpick you for every single little thing, and oh, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And then, oh, I don't like that you did this, or I don't like that you did this, or you went to the White House, or you did this, or you did that. That's not going to, if anything, that's not going to get you very far. And they have an opposite effect, because you can have all this positive stuff about you that, like, man, Canada is like hockey's game, and it's really big, it's really popular, and people are really passionate about it. And that people could see that, like, man, that's really cool. I want to be a part of that. But you don't want all that to be ruined because of bad behavior, and when people see that, man, if I go play for a Canadian team, are they going to be on my ass every single day for every single little thing that I do? Are they going to nitpick it if I do something they don't like? Are they going to be, are they going to be a dick about it? If I vote a certain way and they don't like that, are they going to be a dick to me about it and just nag me? Like, that stuff can ruin a good reputation, or if that stuff keeps happening, players are just going to say, nope, screw it. I want nothing to do with that. And that's just how it is. So, like, a balancing act, but you have to figure out a way around that and fix it. Either someone has to say something or do something. It just be like, appreciate your support. We love it that you're very, very passionate about hockey and everything, both as fans and in the media. But you got to find ways to just knock some of this crap off and just settle down just a bit, because your bad behavior in many ways is pushing people away.
It's not to say that some doesn't happen here. Obviously, we saw with Line about the whole Line thing, and then he went to Montreal, where it was worse. Like,
yeah,
what the hell? Like, that's a whole nother discussion that I don't even want to have on air, personally, because I'm gonna get kind of shitty about it. But we are kind of getting close to an end here.
Yeah. So the last thing I do want to talk about, I can make this, I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but I do want to say this. So I saw this post on Twitter from Undisputed 104 on Twitter, and he's not American, he's European. But this person says, I can't tell if the USA fans have truly embraced football or if we're just catching everyone in the perfect sports calendar window when there's no college football in the NBA. And this is what I would say to this. First, right now, there's only one sport to compete against for the World Cup. Baseball. That's it. Baseball is the big sport that everyone is paying attention to right now.
Yeah.
Hefty Doc Guardians, I pay attention to the Reds. Like, right now, yes, we're big hockey people, and we do a show even during the summer talking about the Blue Jackets, but like, the big sport right now is baseball. So, like, people are paying attention to their favorite baseball team right now. It's a lot compared to, in like the winter time, when there's like football, basketball, and hockey. Those sports are competing against each other and getting everyone's attention. So when you have it where the World Cup is going on right now, and you're only competing against one sport, baseball, that really does make a difference.
Yeah.
It really
talked about on the
does
Pat
make a
McAfee
difference.
show It's being talked about every single new sports show, every single one.
It's like it really does make a difference that the World Cup is only competing against one sport, that's baseball, because there's no basketball, no football, no hockey. So a good chunk of people's attention is there for the taking because they don't have those three big sports taking up people's attention. Another thing I would say is this. People always have liked soccer in this country. People have always liked international competitions in this country, whether that be the World Cup or the Olympics. That being said, if there was ever a time to have an international competition, it's right now, because there is so much positive momentum and so much positive energy for international competitions because of what USA Hockey did at the Winter Olympics this past February. There was so much positive energy and momentum and hype and excitement because of what USA Hockey did at the Olympics by winning 3 gold medals. The men's hockey team won gold, beat Canada. The women's hockey team won gold, beat Canada. And the American paraplegic team won gold medal in the paraplegic hockey games and beat Canada. 3 American hockey teams winning gold against Canada in the Olympics. And because of that, there was so much positive energy and hype and excitement because of that, that people now are really getting into the whole USA international competition thing. There is a lot more excitement for American sports in an international competition, and a lot more patriotic feelings, and a lot more like USA, and people going like USA, 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 because of USA Hockey winning the gold medal at the Olympics 3 times. So for the World Cup to have an international competition in America, this is the perfect time to be having a competition to build off of that momentum that the USA Hockey team did in the Olympics by winning 3 gold medals, because people are more extra hyped and excited for a international competition involving a USA sports team.
Yeah, no, I definitely can see that. I'd love to talk more about this. Unfortunately, I have to get going.
All right, how about a quick thought here before you leave?
I do believe this to a certain extent. I do think that this is why it's is when it is, because obviously too they're using arenas that aren't just soccer arenas. They're using American football fields, so it just wouldn't have worked out well. Two, yes, it's right after like all the hype of the NBA finals. Hockey's over. Baseball is not really the international level baseball's competing with is mostly like the for viewership. I mean, it's like from like a lot of Central American countries. The United States obviously is like the biggest viewer, and like maybe some Europeans and Australia. But like the whole world is getting behind this. So not only and honestly, my other thought on this is that there are way more soccer fans than people think in the United States.
Yes.
It's just like hockey, where it might not be on Sports Center every single episode, like football is. Like they talk about football when it's like the absolute furthest away from football season as possibly is. I couldn't possibly give 2 shits less, and they're still talking about football. Whatever. Sorry, getting a little worked up here about it. But yeah, there's way more soccer fans than people think. I think the world, especially, it's what they see first. So yeah, if they're seeing Sports Center, like What sports networks do you know out of Canada? TSN. That's all I know, dude. And there's got to be more, like there's got to be smaller ones, local ones, this and that, whatever, right? But that's exactly it. And if you judge Canada by that, obviously they care most about hockey.
Right.
You know, you look at the sports news out of like Mexico and stuff like that. A lot of it's baseball and a lot of it's soccer. Well, football.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think two things. It is really good timing. One, that was a good call by scheduling, and there's simply more fans than people think.
Right.
But anyway, have a good one, man.
All right, hit the button. Hit the right button. Don't screw this up. Hit the right button. Don't screw this up. Hit the right button.
Later, man.
Don't screw this up. Hit the right button. Okay, so he didn't screw this up. He hit the right button because one time we did a show and Hefty Duck hit the wrong button and that ended the show. And I didn't want that. I wanted to keep going. And he hit the wrong button and that ended the show. But this time he didn't screw up and he didn't hit the wrong button. He hit the right button. So we're still going. Last couple things here I would like to talk about, then I have to get out of here, is I want to put this up on the screen, is recently Josh Dunn, the drummer from the band 21 Pilots from Columbus, had a birthday. So shout out to Josh Dunn, the drummer from 21 Pilots. Happy birthday, sir. Hope it was a good one. And big Blue Jackets fan, as he's been seen at multiple Blue Jackets games. And of course, 21 Pilots was seen playing at the Blue Jackets outdoor game at Ohio State. So there's that. So happy birthday to 21 Pilots drummer Josh Dunn from Columbus. Good band, a lot of good music, and they are big Blue Jackets fans. So happy birthday to Josh Dunn from 21 Pilots. Big Blue Jackets fan. So just wanted to throw that one out there. So there is that. And the last thing that I would like to talk about, I'm going to put this up on the screen. So I want to zoom this in. Maybe one more. How does that look? Okay, that looks good. So I wanted to respond to this. Well, I did on Twitter, but I want to respond to this on the show. I want to talk about it. So it is well known that years ago in the 90s, when the news came out that the Blue Jackets were coming to Columbus, and Columbus was getting a hockey team, that Ohio State back then in the 90s was not very fond of the idea of Columbus getting a hockey team. So they did everything that they could to try and stop the Blue Jackets from coming to Columbus, whether that be working with the state government of Ohio to use taxpayer money from trying to stop that from happening, whether it was rushing they built the shot where Ohio State basketball and men's hockey play, and that was built quickly an attempt to try and stop Nationwide Arena from happening. Well, that didn't happen. That failed. Nationwide Arena happened, and it backfired on Ohio State because now Ohio State's stuck with a god-awful building that's terrible and no one likes it. You know, Ohio State hockey deserves better. They should have a good hockey rink like every other Big Ten school because it's not good for hockey. And, you know, there's other stuff, too, that Ohio State tried to do, and it didn't work, obviously, because 20-plus years later, the Blue Jackets are still here. And all of this comes from the Columbus Chill Factor book. It's a good book. I think you should read it. It tells the hockey history of Columbus and the story of how Columbus got the Blue Jackets. And because of those very stupid, idiotic actions that Ohio State did years ago by trying to keep the Blue Jackets from coming to Columbus, it kind of set the tone for many years on how Ohio State viewed the Blue Jackets. And it wasn't good. Unfortunately, it was not good. They did not treat the Blue Jackets very good. You know, the Blue Jackets would go out of their way and they would consistently show support for Ohio State, and the Blue Jackets wouldn't return the favor. The Blue Jackets would have Ohio State night and show support for them, and you really wouldn't get anything from Ohio State. And then Ohio State would have goofball excuses why they couldn't have a hockey game at the shoe, plumbing excuses, and all that other junk. And the Blue Jackets would have Ohio State hockey, play games at Nationwide Arena, and, you know, all that stuff. So you put all that stuff together, and it is a small group of people, but there was a resentment towards Ohio State, a negative feeling towards Ohio State, that because of that, of like, ew, Ohio State, like, why are the Blue Jackets being involved with Ohio State? And there are some people in the Blue Jackets fan base that does not like Ohio State. They like the Blue Jackets and they like some other school, whether that be like the Cincinnati Bearcats or, you know, Michigan. Interesting enough, I'd say if I had to pick a school that has the most fans in the Blue Jackets fan base that's not Ohio State, I would say it's Michigan, in part because every time the Blue Jackets get a Michigan guy, that number goes up. Because you do see it. You do go to a Blue Jackets game, and you do see people wearing Michigan stuff with Blue Jackets stuff. And so when there's Ohio State stuff involved with the Blue Jackets, you do get a negative reaction from some people that don't like that. I mean, they don't like that. You wish that would be kept separate. And then they will often bring up just all the times that Ohio State has been god-awful to the Blue Jackets, including the big one, which is doing everything that they can to try and stop the Blue Jackets from coming to Columbus, you know, building the shot to try and stop Nationwide Arena from happening, to, you know, working with the state government of Ohio to try and use taxpayer money to try and stop that. So, like, that is a thing. I didn't like that Ohio State did that stuff. But we also have to look at the fact that Ohio State is not that Ohio State anymore. They're just not. Like, Ohio State is not that Ohio State anymore. Ohio State is actually good towards the Blue Jackets. Ohio State treats the Blue Jackets way better. And so I responded to a tweet on Twitter right here that I have up on the screen. So P Mike 9660871 on Twitter because there is this original tweet was an argument between some, I guess what you would call most Blue Jackets fans, which is they like Ohio State, and the Blue Jackets and most Blue Jackets fans that like Ohio State. They get a little pissy and a little upset when you take a shot at Ohio State and call out some of the stuff that Ohio State has done with the Blue Jackets. And they don't like it, and then they say, it's not like that anymore and all that stuff, and I understand why. So this tweet here, P Mike 9660871 said, yes, and not every Blue Jackets fan is an Ohio State fan. Don't pigeonhole a franchise, the Blue Jackets, that has zero ties to a college. If anything, Jackets fans should dislike OSU as they have tried to keep the Jackets out of town. And my response to that is, OSU absolutely deserves criticism for trying to stop the Blue Jackets from coming to Columbus. But at the same time, OSU is not like that anymore. OSU has shown some support for the Blue Jackets many times. The Blue Jackets being in Columbus is very beneficial for OSU. And then I tagged at PM Mike 9660879 at P Mike 9660871 in the tweet. And there's some truth to this. Yes, Ohio State has been awful to the Blue Jackets. Yes, Ohio State did everything that they could to try and keep the Blue Jackets from coming to Columbus. They deserve criticism for that. They do. That was a very stupid, idiotic move for them to do that. No reason to do that. Oh, what are you doing? But at the same time, we have to be honest with ourselves here. That is not Ohio State anymore. Ohio State is not that Ohio State. They're just not. Ohio State is not that Ohio State. Ohio State, time and time again over the years, has shown support for the Blue Jackets. Whether it be, on social media, be Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Every time the Blue Jackets season starts, you see a post on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, from Ohio State that says, hey, good luck, Blue Jackets, this season. CBJ, let's go Jackets. And over the years, when the Blue Jackets have made the playoffs, Ohio State has made posts showing support for the Blue Jackets. Something along the lines of, hey, Blue Jackets, best of luck to the playoffs. CBJ, let's go Jackets. Go get the Stanley Cup. Stuff like that. Okay? So there's that. But the biggest example of Ohio State showing support for the Blue Jackets is the Blue Jackets outdoor game that they had at Ohio State March of 2025. That is the biggest example of Ohio State showing support for the Blue Jackets. Because, yes, let's say 8 out of 10 is the reason why the Blue Jackets had the outdoor game, because the NHL is doing this because they want the Blue Jackets having an outdoor game in Columbus. Like, the Blue Jackets are the main reason why the outdoor game happened in Columbus. But then there's that 2 out of 10, which is Ohio State. They do play a role in this. Ohio State, to a certain degree, did help the Blue Jackets get an outdoor hockey game in Columbus at Ohio State. When for years, Ohio State would just shoot that down immediately, and they would just use stupid plumbing excuses. We can't do it because the plumbing. Even though ignore the fact of all the years that Ohio State had football games in November and December and had like national championship celebrations in like January. Just ignore that part where they had events in cold weather months. It's cold, like 20 degrees out and snowing. So, Ohio State kind of wants you to ignore that one. Ignore, we know the plumbing excuses sound stupid, but, and just ignore the fact that we've had events in cold weather months, but, whatever. But even Ohio State eventually got to the point to where they stopped doing that. They stopped doing the stupid plumbing excuses. And they realize how beneficial it is having an outdoor hockey game at your place. Because not only do you get a lot of money, no doubt about that. Ohio State got a lot of money because of the Blue Jackets playing a hockey game there. They did. So not only do you get a lot of money, you get a lot of attention. The whole world is looking at you, Ohio State. They're saying, the Blue Jackets are playing a hockey game against the Detroit Red Wings at Ohio State. I wonder where that is. Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State's football team plays there. Interesting. That's cool. And people are probably looking, man, that looks cool. I got to go see a game there or something. So, you get money, you get attention. It helped out the economy. The Blue Jackets, it helped. They get money, they get attention. That outdoor hockey game set new TV records for most watched TV outdoor hockey game since 2019. It set a record for second highest ever attended hockey game, over 94,000. So, you get something out of that. Ohio State did help the Blue Jackets to a certain extent get an outdoor hockey game. Albeit a small part, but they did help. So, Ohio State over the years hasn't been very good to the Blue Jackets, and they did everything that they could to try and keep the Blue Jackets from coming to Columbus. But that was years ago. That was almost 30 years ago. That's 20 plus years ago, and that's not Ohio State anymore. Ohio State is not that Ohio State anymore. They're just not. Ohio State, I do believe, recognizes that it is very beneficial for Ohio State to have the Blue Jackets in Columbus. Because you could, like the outdoor game, you can get a lot of money and attention for that. But also, I know this for a fact that the Blue Jackets are using, I know this for a fact that Ohio State is using the Blue Jackets in recruiting as a reason why you should come to Ohio State. Because, Legend Bay, he's, high school guy, committed to play at Ohio State. He'll start playing at Ohio State this upcoming season. And when he announced that he was going to go play at Ohio State, he had this really cool graphic that he posted all over his social media pages. And on that social media page, it was a background of the city of Columbus, and they had all this stuff that you can do in Columbus. There was the Crew and the Clippers, and I think like Short North, and I think like North Market was there, and the and obviously Ohio State was there, and the Blue Jackets were on that. So that right then and there tells me that that Ohio State is using the Blue Jackets to try and get guys to go play at Ohio State. Because they're probably saying, hey, listen, come to Ohio State. You're going to a real good football program that is historically good at hockey, year in, year out. Every year, we have a good shot at beating Michigan, winning the Big Ten, getting a good bowl game, winning the national championship. But also, we have a lot of stuff that you can do in Columbus. We're not just a college town. Because you're not always just going to be a football player, and you're not just going to always be going to school. You're going to need some stuff to do. And this is where the Blue Jackets come in. Because Ohio State can say, hey, besides football and, we're a good school and everything, you can, hey, you like hockey? Oh, well, guess what? You can go see the Blue Jackets play. You like soccer? Here's the Crew. Oh, baseball. Here's the Clippers. Here's Short North. Here's German Village. The Columbus Zoo. Here's this. Here's that. Having the Blue Jackets is very beneficial to Ohio State. Having the Blue Jackets in Columbus is very beneficial to Ohio State. And I know this for a fact that there have been Ohio State football players at Blue Jackets games. There have been years ago, Billy Price, was in the NFL, played for the Bengals, and he played at Ohio State. He was wearing a Blue Jackets hat. And where do you think he got that? Probably went to a Blue Jackets game. There have also been some Ohio State players that have done internships for the Blue Jackets. That's another thing Ohio State can say. You can get a good internship and work for a hockey team in Columbus. You can't do that in Alabama or Iowa or Oklahoma. Certainly can't do that in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Michigan is. Because like if you're in Alabama, it's Alabama. That's it. Like sports perspective, you have nothing else to do, and there's probably not a lot else to do. Or you're in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's like, well, Michigan, that's it. Or Iowa, or all these other places. But if you're in Columbus, you can't say that. You have a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do. And the big one being, hey, you want a hockey team? Professional hockey. You want to go? Here you go. Blue Jackets. Here you go. It's right there. It's right there. Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State's football team, he was at a Blue Jackets game. I know this because I was at the game when he was there because they put him up on the scoreboard. Ohio State women's hockey has been to multiple Blue Jackets games. When they won one of their national championships years ago, they brought the national championship trophy to a Blue Jackets game. And like I said, Ohio State football players have been to a Blue Jackets game. So Ohio State knows that having the Blue Jackets in Columbus is very beneficial to them. That's just my opinion on that. It just does. If you're competing against other schools with just a college town, where Ohio State's like, it's not just a college town. It's like, yeah, there's the college town because of Ohio State, but it's like, hey, this is Columbus. We have downtown Columbus, the Arena District, with the bars and the restaurants, the stores, the hotels, and yes, there's the Clippers and the Crew and the Blue Jackets and all this other stuff that you can do that you can't do in other places because they're just a college town. So, yes, it's okay to call out Ohio State for what they did back then, but you also have to realize that Ohio State is not that anymore. They've been very supportive of the Blue Jackets. So, that's all I have to say about that. Ohio State and the Blue Jackets, they are the two big dogs in Columbus. They are the two stars of the show. The two big names in Columbus are the Blue Jackets and Ohio State. So, again, it's okay to call out Ohio State for what they've done, but also you got to recognize that Ohio State is not that Ohio State anymore, and they have been very supportive of the Blue Jackets and been doing much better about supporting the Blue Jackets and being nice towards the Blue Jackets, because it's just truly great to see. So that's all I have to say about that, because that's just how it is. I'll take it back, because one last thing is, like, if you're comparing other cities and other places, it's like, oh, you could college town, and you could do this and that. Oh, that's fun. That's cool. But like I said, Columbus comes in like, okay, well, you could do Ohio State, but then there's the Crew, the Clippers, and all this other stuff, and the Blue Jackets, and then Columbus wins because other places just can't do that. Really does make a difference. Ohio State and the Blue Jackets, the two big names in Columbus. The Blue Jackets and Columbus, the two big names in Columbus, the two big dogs in Columbus. And that is just how it is. So, anyways. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to quickly check my bookmarks to see if there's anything else that I'd like to share. If not, I'm going to say my final stuff, and then I'm going to get out of here. So, first things first, let's quickly check the bookmarks to see if there's anything else. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? Okay. So, we're going to put this on the screen here. So, Michigan has a new logo in center ice for their hockey rink. And I have an idea. I have an idea here, Michigan. I have an idea. How about you put a picture of either Jack Johnson or Adam Fantilli or Kent Johnson or Zach Werenski right in the middle of center ice? Because, awesome players that played for Michigan and awesome players for the Blue Jackets, put it right there, How about honor Adam Fantilli right in the middle of the center ice, a picture of Adam Fantilli right in the center ice. Adam Fantilli did play really good for you, Michigan. He won the Hobey Baker when he was there. Of course, Hobey Baker is the Heisman Trophy of college hockey. So, I'm just saying, instead of that, Michigan logo right there, why not put a picture of Adam Fantilli right there? Or, you could put a picture of Zach Werenski in the middle of the ice. Zach Werenski, Norris Trophy winning defenseman, the best defenseman in hockey, Zach Werenski, who went to Michigan. So, awesome player for the Blue Jackets. So, I'm just saying, Michigan, instead of just having, your M logo in the middle of center ice, what about like Adam Fantilli in the middle of center ice right there, huh? What about Adam Fantilli at center ice right there? A picture of Adam Fantilli at center ice right there. Or what about a picture of Blue Jackets defenseman Zach Werenski, who won the Norris Trophy right there in the middle, who went to Michigan? It doesn't even have to be in a Blue Jackets jersey. It'd be cool if it was, but you can have a picture of Adam Fantilli in a Michigan jersey there, or Adam Fantilli with his Hobey Baker Award winner, or you have a picture of Zach Werenski in his Michigan jersey, or, Zach Werenski with his Norris Trophy. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing this one out there that, instead of your M logo at center ice, how about a picture of Adam Fantilli in the middle? Or, a picture of Zach Werenski in the middle, right there. Center ice, Adam Fantilli, or Zach Werenski. Or if you really want to, you know what? You can put Zach Werenski, Adam Fantilli, Kent Johnson, Jack Johnson, all right there, Say, hey, some of the best players that played in Michigan, they play for the Blue Jackets, They've played for the Blue Jackets, which is clearly the best hockey team, in my opinion. I'm biased because I'm a Blue Jackets kind of a guy, a Blue Jackets fan, but, hey, that's just me. So I'm just throwing this one out there, instead of having a Michigan logo right in the middle of the ice right there at center ice. Hey, Michigan, how about a picture of Adam Fantilli right there? Or Zach Werenski, Guys that were just awesome players for Michigan and now are awesome players for the Blue Jackets. That's just me. I thought I'd just throw that one out there that, instead of having your M logo right there at center ice, how about, picture of Adam Fantilli, your Hobey Baker winner, or Zach Werenski, Norris Trophy winner, both played at Michigan. And are now awesome players for the Blue Jackets. So that's that. Just thought throw that one out there. So, well, that's all I have to say. I got for now. Well, I take it back. I still have some things to say here, but after I say that stuff, I'm gonna get out of here. So, first things first. Next week's show is going to be on Monday, June 29th, 2026. at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, live on YouTube and Twitter. So again, next week's show is going to be on Monday, June 29th, 2026 at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So check that out. Be another player report card. Who's the player going to be? You'll have to find out. And we'll be talking about what the Blue Jackets did at the draft and so much more. So check that out. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please tell your family. Please tell your friends. Please like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, I have to give a shout out to my awesome Uncle Doc, the best of the best. Life of the party. What a guy. Love seeing you at family birthday parties and get-togethers and holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and so much more. Love talking hockey with you. You're a big Blackhawks guy, and I'm a big Blue Jackets guy, but you would share your thoughts on how you think the Blackhawks are doing, and I would share my thoughts on how I think the Blue Jackets are doing. But the Blue Jackets became your second favorite team because of me, and so I appreciate that. So thank you for showing support for the Blue Jackets, Doc. So shout out to my awesome Uncle Doc, the best of the best. Wish you're still here so I could talk to you, especially hockey. So shout out to my awesome Uncle Doc. Thank you for everything. And one last thing before we get out of here. So, don't forget to check out Uni Blue Soldiers. So, check out Uni Blue Soldiers. Check out Uni Blue Soldiers. Follow Union Blue Soldiers on all social media platforms. Check out Union Blue Soldiers. You know, we do fun stuff like marches. Yes, Union Blue Soldiers does fun marches to bring Blue Jackets fans together to cheer on the Blue Jackets. The next march that Union Blue Soldiers is doing is before the Blue Jackets home opener, October 2026. Also do it before Blue Jackets home playoff games. A lot of fun. So check it out. Check out the marches that Union Blue Soldiers does. The next one will be before the Blue Jackets home opener, October 2026. It's really a great time to be with your fellow Blue Jackets fans as we all come together to show support for the Blue Jackets. And it's just great to see. So check out the marches that Union Blue Soldiers does. And one last time, check out Union Blue Soldiers. Check out Union Blue Soldiers. Follow Union Blue Soldiers on all social media platforms. Check out Union Blue Soldiers. Check out Union Blue Soldiers. So, that's it for now. From Hefty Doc and me, Kevin, thank you for watching the show. We will see you next time. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye now!